chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan. Then name the system.
Wookiee religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blast like coming up on Alderaan.
You may fire when ready.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Alderaan Explosion, the Explosion Network's countdown to The Last Jedi Star Wars podcast. Today, we shall be talking about the Phantom Menace, which you should all have watched if you want to play along, or not, or you're just like, I don't want to watch that because it's terrible, or you're like, I already watched it last week, Dylan. Please don't tell me what to do. And after we've talked about the Phantom Menace, we will be breaking down the Last Jedi trailer, the big one that finally dropped, basically screenshot by screenshot, and see what's happening in that. But before we jump into that, the first thing that I just randomly added a new segment to today's episode because Ciaran and Ash here. What's up, guys?
Hey, really excited to be on the number one countdown to the Last Jedi podcast on the internet.
Yeah, well, I hope it is. It might be. I mean, I'm sure there's like millions of Star Wars podcasts, but how many can claim to be the number one in the Oceania's countdown to the Last Jedi podcast? I mean, that must make the market a lot smaller than all Star Wars podcasts, surely.
Yeah, we're a lot more specific.
Yeah, it's pretty specific. I mean, I'm sure there's like 20 official podcasts. So it's lucky we didn't go with the official podcast either. Before we kicked off the show, Ash was saying, just repeat what you said before we kicked off. So,
how do you pronounce the planet that we've used for the name of the show? Because I'm pretty sure during the Phantom Menace, when I was watching it the other night, the guy pronounced it Alderaan, but I thought it was Alderaan.
That sounds like a Texan accent.
Yeah.
Say it with a Texan accent.
Alderaan. Cowboys. Alderaan.
Do you all say it the way I say it? Alderaan?
Alderaan? Yeah, Alderaan sounds pretty normal.
Alderaan.
Sounds good in the mouth.
How do you go with other... There's a huge thing in the Star Wars universe and Star Wars fans that get real spitty and crabby about the pronunciation of certain things.
What about the one that bothers
Jedi.
me is Coruscant or like Coruscant?
Coruscant?
Yeah.
I say Coruscant.
Coruscant?
Well, the number one go-to for me is everyone who argues about like ATST or like...
AT-AT.
AT-AT. Or is it AT-AT or AT-AT?
I call it
and that's like the number one Star Wars argued about thing, and that people get really angry about. One of my favorite people in the Star Wars creative team universe, whatever you want to call it, is Dave Filoni, who works. He worked on all the Clone Wars animated series, did the Clone Wars movie, and does Star Wars Rebels now. And one of the best things I ever watched with him was him talking about like the pronunciation of different things. Like he gives a bunch of things like AT-AT, AT-AT, however, but the Coruscant, all these other things like that. And he pointed out, and I never noticed until he said it, but he purposely makes characters in all the animated shows say them differently at different times. So one character may be like, that's an AT-AT, and the next person will be like, it's an AT-AT coming down the field. And he made them do that purposely as like a fuck you to Star Wars fans. Like, it doesn't actually matter.
It doesn't matter.
Like, you've got 200-page Reddit threads. It doesn't matter. And I love the dude for doing it because I never noticed till he said it. And then after watching this interview, every time I watch like Clone Wars or something like that, it's like you hear someone be like AT-AT, and then the next episode it's like AT-AT. You're like, I love it. I love it. Because it's just kind of like the galaxy's so big. Why would everyone know how to say it one specific
But everybody
way?
knows how to say New York and Paris and
The
chicken.
Earth is so small, though. We're talking about a galaxy with different, like, millions of different languages and all this sort of thing. And everyone's like, why doesn't all these different species and everything say it the same way? Why doesn't everyone just be like, AT-AT? It's like, it makes sense to me. Why would they all say it the same way?
I guess. But there's got to be there's got to be a correct way.
No, but I think
That's been disproved with the GIF thing the last couple
in the
of years,
world,
so it all makes sense.
In the world, I bet like it's a difference between like military personnel and common people. Like military people probably say AT-AT, where commoners are probably just like it's an AT-AT, it's an AT-AT, you know.
But it could be like Australian slang to stuff, or like how Australians say some words differently just because of like how our accent like slurs it without us even meaning to and stuff like that.
Yeah, that could be interesting, and that's one of the things that's never really never really touched on in the Star Wars kind of universe is that
Spelling.
and grammar and accents, really.
That's
'Cause
what we
it's
need.
just- yeah.
Star Wars needs to put out a novel about some sort of grammar expert
Where
deciphering
are
what?
other
where
languages.
Are the
Read it.
Australians? Where are where are the Star Wars universe's version of a bogan? Where are you at? Show us.
I mean, Hutt's basically just
Yeah.
big rich bogans.
The Hutts are too. No, I don't think we. Nah.
No?
Hutts are more like no offense, America.
Ooh. Shots. Shots. All right, talking about Hutts, because it's a really bad segue, but Jabba does show up in the Phantom Menace. Let's talk about the first movie to kick off this week by week. So if you don't, first episode, we'll be watching each movie week by week leading up until The Last Jedi. So we'll talk about Phantom Menace this week, Attack of Clones next week, so on and so forth. We'll have some Clone Wars episodes mixed in with the next episode. The week we watch A New Hope, we'll be watching Rogue One. You can find the full list details to double check all this. explosionnetwork.com/Alderaan Explosion, I think. And it doesn't matter how you say it, it's spelt the same, so you can't get it wrong. Alderaan,
Is there
it's
a
still spelt the
hyphen
same.
or an underscore? Or is
No,
it
no.
all one word? I can't remember.
It's still spelt the same, I believe, so we should be fine.
Dylan, I've
So
got
let's
a
just
question for you. Just before we move on. So I found this interesting one. When you're normally, so say not in the, I understand why it is for this podcast watching, and this we're not going to talk for half an hour. I don't want this to be. What is the normal order you would watch the movies if you were watching them in a? Would you watch it in this format?
I did this rewatch before Force Awakens,
Yep.
and I watched it in this exact format.
In this actual order? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool.
Why? What's your order?
Oh, I don't
Did
know.
you do the
I don't
whole-
know because I can see the benefits of both camps. You know, either like the release dates or the actual timeline order. But I think I prefer
What
the
about the
timeline
machete
order,
order?
to be honest.
Well, people always go like, the order I see the most is like people cut out episode 1 and they're like 2. No, was it? You go 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. It's like the big popular whatever.
Oh, I like that. I like
machete
that,
cut.
actually.
The machete cut, because they're like, you start on 4. You get the 5, you get the big reveal that Vader's the father, and then you do like the origin story of Vader, and then you cut back to 6.
Okay.
Which I'm like, that's cool, but if you're doing a rewatch, you know that he's his father anyway, so it's not like you're watching episode 5, you're like, oh, fuck!
No, that's if you're
Like,
showing
oh!
someone the first time. If you were to recommend someone who's never watched Star Wars, what order to watch it in? What order would you recommend?
1 till... I'll start at episode 1. Because as much as people who like to complain about... Well, all right, we're talking about episode 1, basically. So as much as everyone likes to talk crap on the Phantom Menace and stuff like that, I think you'll find that the majority of people, especially if you sat down... Let's say you sit down your kid or your younger brother or something like that. Hey, man, check out A New Hope. Guaranteed with the amount... Like, you got Transformers in cinemas. Shit's just blowing up. Like, no one... There's stuff going on. They sit down and watch A New Hope. They're like, this is kind of boring. Like... I don't get it. Like, I've heard so many people tell similar stories. Like, I tried to show someone Star Wars and I found New Hope boring. Like, I hate them. I'm like, well, I mean, I get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, obviously, because I love old Star Wars. But I get it. If the type of movies that people are being brought up now, I feel like at least the prequels are... I mean, they're more in line with the dumbness of blockbusters today. Like, they're just a lot stupider.
It's probably easier for people of a younger age to accept those movies as well because sometimes they can't get past the visual effects or like how it looks old, how it just in general looks like it was. Whereas, you know, the prequel trilogy
Got a fuck ton of special effects and shit.
They've got special effects. They've got... It looks more like a movie you could watch now. So, well,
yeah,
yes and
exactly.
no.
I think, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't really thought about it since episode 7 came out, but I could see myself just suggesting people start at episode 7, to be honest. I feel like you can jump in at 7.
Yeah, I think it's a good entry point. And then if you like that and you want to know...
You go back.
If you want to know who
wanna
this
know
Luke
who Han and
Skywalker
Leia.
dude is, if you want to know who these characters are, go back.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah.
That's actually, I like
Yeah,
that.
and
I
I
like
feel-
that idea.
Yeah, I feel like
Or
saying,
Rogue One?
like here,
Would you
just watch
recommend
7.
starting at Rogue One?
I think Rogue One's a bit different.
I would not recommend
I wouldn't start
starting
at Rogue One.
Ever. Well, it's it's like way darker. By the time you get to the end of that movie, you don't fully grasp the significance of what you've just watched unless you know what those plans lead to, like what happens in New Hope, everything like that. So I feel like a lot of the emotional kick of that movie is missed on people who don't like. If that's your first Star Wars movie, maybe you can enjoy it. I feel like it's not going to hook you. You're going to miss a lot of the stuff in it and stuff like that. But no, I think my answer would be 7. If someone's like, Dylan, what Star Wars movie should I start at? I want to get into it. I'd be like, just start at episode 7.
Starting at Rogue One would be like suggesting an anime to somebody and then telling them to go watch the fillers first. Like, watch the fillers, and then, you don't do that.
Yeah. Well, it's a spin-off. It enhances extended story.
It enhances what you already know.
Yeah,
would you
exactly
watch Rogue One in the order if it was for your first time?
I like the order that we have it here on the show. I like watching it concurrent with
back to back with
New Hope.
Yeah.
I find that really, and I haven't done that yet, and it's something I've always wanted to do is watch.
Oh, it's so good.
Watch it back to back because I think even when I left the cinemas the first time I watched it, it was probably one of my favorite things about it was how well it linked back with New Hope. So
yeah, well, couple weeks time, it is like it's so great. Like by the time Rogue One ends, you're like, fuck, man. I just want to put on episode 4 straight away, and you really want to because there's literally like 2 minutes between those movies, and it's just like the best transition. And like it's so weird though because I feel like the time gap, like you can tell obviously episode 4 is like an older movie, but it doesn't bother you at all. Your brain's just like,
doesn't it? It doesn't bother you because I think I've seen people trying to explain it. Not to take this topic too long. Seeing people trying to explain it because my only problem with the ending of Rogue One was you just saw Darth Vader do this totally badass crap like at the end, like destroying everybody, and then at the start of New Hope, he seems to be a lot more rigid. But that was just because of how it was back then.
It was.
They tried to explain it because everyone for years would be like, why is when you compare Vader at the start of New Hope to Vader in the rest of the original trilogy, everyone's like, why is he so pissed off at the start of New Hope? Like, why is he marching around like he just force chokes this dude? He's just yelling at everyone. He's like, where are the fucking plans, you fucking bitch? Like, he's just like yelling at everyone. And after you watch Rogue One, it makes sense because you got this stupid princess who just like walks up to him and she's like, I'm on a diplomatic mission here. I don't know what you're on about, Mr. Vader, sir. And he's like, I just fucking saw you take off directly in front of me. You're a fucking liar, okay? Just kill this, like, yeah. So just like he's pissed, and that's like one of the more pissed off Vader scenes you'll see. Not Anakin like Vader scenes, but like Vader in suit, particularly pissed off because he just saw this girl run off. Can't find these damn plans. Now she's just lying directly to his face. Like, I have no idea what you're on about.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
It's not about the mission, Master. It's something elsewhere. Elusive.
When was the first time you watched The Phantom Menace? And is it anyone here's first Star Wars movie?
It's the first Star Wars movie I can remember watching. Like, it's like, I think, I have a feeling that I watched the original trilogy at some point when I was much younger. But, no, like, Phantom Menace is probably the first one where I was of a mature enough mind to understand what the hell was going on. And I think, so it came out, what, like
1999.
1999? So I would have been like 5? Yeah, I'd been 5 when this came out. So, yeah, I can remember the other ones, but I can't, I actually took in Phantom Menace probably a lot better than on the other ones.
How about you, Ash?
I was 1999. I was 11 at the time. I saw it in cinemas. I remember.
Yeah.
It was weird remembering it because we drove all the way into the city to see it at the Maya Center at the time, which is like in the city. I don't know why we went all the way there to go see that, but we went with.
Was someone in your family? Like,
with my friends and a couple of my friends and a couple of family. My family and a couple of friends. That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah.
Were they already big Star Wars fans beforehand?
No, not really.
No?
Yeah, it was
Interesting.
I think I'd only rented the video tapes maybe a month or two before the actual real movie came out. So I wasn't like a massive Star Wars fan or anything.
Do you remember? Well, actually, I'll just say mine before we cover it. before watching Phantom Menace, I'd watched the original trilogy umpteen amount of times. I'm pretty sure my dad just put them on when I was little as like background noise, like to entertain a young kid. I've watched those movies so many times, probably didn't understand what was happening in a lot of them, but like they were kind of like, just here, child, sit down and watch the magic lightsaber dudes fight each other. Yeah. So like those movies were
watch this creature get lightsabered in half.
Watch this guy get his arm chopped off. It's fine.
Well, no, episode 6, because if you listen to Pleasure Explosion, where we did like top movies, I talk about Return of the Jedi being my favorite because I have such like fond memories from it as a kid, and it's probably because like that movie just like Luke's finally the hero, and it's like the most action in, and it's like the Ewoks are cool when you're a kid. Like I was like, oh, they're like so cool. Like I want them to be my bestest pals. Look at them, they're cute little teddy bears. I want to hug them. And when you're a little kid, that's great. But episode Empire as a kid, no,
that was boring. It was boring.
No, I got scared. It scared the living crap out of me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is the movie just where everything goes to crap.
Yeah. It was very dark. I remember also being scared in episode 4 when they show the skeletons of like the burnt family. When Luke goes back. And you got the skeleton just sitting there like smoldering. As a kid, I remember being like, I don't know if you could feel like gagging as a kid, but I'm pretty sure I was like close. Like that was like, maybe it was like my first horror movie was A New Hope. Yeah, I don't, so Phantom Menace, I got dragged out of class early. My dad said we had to, gave the note to the teacher that I had to, I don't know, important family meeting or something like that, I think was the lie. And got lied to taken out of class early at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, went and had tea early, and then lined up to go watch the first showing of Phantom Menace. And I remember the lineup being the longest I've ever seen before they renovated the cinema here and made it into like a bigger complex and stuff like that. This was still when it was like, the ticket booth was like on the outside, like old school, like really old cinema, like kind of set up like that.
Like American movie
And this line
style.
was like all the way down the block, like around the corner. I remember just like the first time, this would be one of my early experiences of being like in a line, just like, I fucking hate lines. And we're about to go to PAX in a couple of weeks. Or actually, we're at PAX by the time you're listening to this show. Sorry, we're recording this one early because we're going to PAX. And it's like, I'm just like, fucking hate lines. And so it's like, I think that was probably my earliest memory. But yeah. And I mean, the first time I watched Phantom Menace, I remember loving it. Like as a kid, I had no idea what was going on for half of it. Like, admittedly, and rewatching it again, I'm like, I really don't know how George Lucas was like, this is a kids movie, and he always thought Star Wars were kids movies, and I get it. Jar Jar's obviously for kids. He treads and poo. There's like heaps of corny ass humor. I'm like, you can totally tell he was like, this is funny for kids. But when you watch the opening, like when you read it, it's like the Trade Federation is blocking the thing for the tax, and the Jedi are being sent in for negotiations. And then later on, they're like talking so much politics and stuff. As a kid, I was like, I have no fucking clue what's going on. I don't know what taxation, I don't know what blockade routes are. I have no idea what they're on about. There's an evil red dude with horns, and that's cool.
That's all.
But like the rest of it, I don't fucking know. What did you all like it when you was younger?
Yeah, of course. It's pretty lights, and they're guys fighting with lightsabers and ships and stuff and droids and
it's cool sounds.
I remember
music.
buying like I had the novelization of the movie.
I did too. I did too.
Crazy.
My brother ripped it up.
Oh no!
Wow.
Yeah, my he chucked a
The family Emily was gone.
He chucked the like mum brought it for me, but he didn't get anything, so he like jumped on my bed and ripped it up on me.
Really?
I cried.
That's terrible.
I cried a lot. This is a true story. If you ever like how's Dylan how he is now, guess what? I rebought it years later. I was like, I remember when I had this.
I had a first edition.
It's got all like the pictures in the middle from like the movie.
Yeah.
It's got like photographs and stuff.
Colored pictures, yeah.
I remember laying on my bed. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on like a sad day. And just like flicking through it and thinking it was the coolest thing ever. Like looking at the pictures being like, yeah, fucking, look, Darth Maul, look, yeah. Great as a kid though. How about you, Ciaran?
Yeah,
I did like it. I think, you know what? I think if I took the scenes I really took in as a kid, I bet it would be like a 45-minute movie because it was like anytime there was cool lightsabers or the pod race or like anything cool, anything where they talked a lot, I think I zoned out because that was kind of the kid I was. But I still enjoyed it. I can still remember enjoying that movie. So
the 15-20 minutes on Coruscant where all they're doing is talking, and there's like the scene where they're like having the actual galactic senate, they're like talking about like voting in new people and all this sort of stuff. It's like when you're like a kid, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
It always makes
Go
me
back
laugh.
to like the sand planet.
It always makes me laugh because there's like the Simpsons parody of the release, and in the Simpsons version there's like 2 hours where they're in the Senate talking about different things, and they're just like, do they really need this kind of political in the movie?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It's so weird though, because as my like Star Wars fandom grown over period, and like as I got older, the political side of Star Wars is like now one of my favorite things. And one of my biggest complaints after watching The Force Awakens was I was so annoyed I didn't understand how the government worked or the world worked, because it's like by the time you get to episode 6, one of the things I was legit top 5 things I was most excited for in The Force Awakens was I want to know how the world works now. Because you leave episode 6 and you're like, there was an emperor and he was basically in charge of everyone, and everyone did everything he said, and there was basically just people like ruling over the galaxy. And then we're coming into episode 7, it's like 30 years later, I'm like, how does the world work now? Like, is there like, did they have like a new emperor? Like, is there different like people in charge of different planets? Like, how does it all work? And then you watch The Force Awakens and they show like one shot of the political capital at one point and it gets blown the fuck up, and you're like, Leia's like, we're the resistance, but we don't have full support from the government. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. Why?
That was one of the things when I went into that movie. I always
political.
remember thinking, how is the First Order a thing? How is this a
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you now because they explain it all in
They
fucking-
explained it all in the books.
They explained it on fucking like spin-off books and stuff like that, which is like one of the main reasons. As soon as they start putting out books, I'm like, tell me what the fuck? How does the First Order even happen? Like, tell me like how legally they sit back and watch these people happen.
Well, you are
But,
the niche part of the fan base that wants to know about all the politics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other people like me. Like,
Yeah.
even Ciaran was just saying then, like,
Yeah.
how does the First Order happen? Like, that's political. That's like you're like, how does
guess.
how does the world work? How does this
I'm not
organization rise up?
I'm not as
The
heavily
world keeps
invested
spinning
in
around
it.
the sun because of gravity.
I'm not as heavily invested in it as Dylan is, but I do remember. Like when the trailers for Force Awakens came out, and I was like, wait, are they like they're not the Empire, but they kind of are the Empire? Like, what? How?
It's really
what?
confusing. Yeah. And yeah, so it's just as a kid, it's like you're watching even the start of Phantom Menace. You watch every time I watch it, I'm like, this movie doesn't make any sense for the first 15-20 minutes as a kid, because it's these 2 Jedi come in, but you don't know they're Jedi just yet. And as a kid, I probably didn't realize that Ewan McGregor's character was the weird old dude who died in the one I'd already seen before. Like, I wasn't clicking on to this. Mm-hmm. And they just sit in a room and they're talking about negotiations. And then there's weird aliens like talking to holograms about trade delegations. And they talk to some weird queen who's wearing weird outfits. You're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then they finally fly down to the planet and they knock into Jar Jar and he starts making funny jokes. And as a kid, you're probably just like, I'm kind of enjoying this movie now. Like, look at this weird alien telling weird, who's a teacher?
Moi, moi.
Let's talk about Jar Jar.
Goddamn Jar Jar.
We watched the movie the other day. We all did.
Yep.
Now, when was the last time you watched this movie? Like, prior to this
I think
rewatch?
it's been
Early
a good
2000s.
a
Yeah.
good 10 years since I fully sat down and watched the full movie. I can remember there's always been, like, it'll be on, like, free-to-air TV every now and then randomly, and I'll sit there and watch, like, half an hour, 20 minutes every now and then. But this was the first time I sat down with the intention of just watching the movie in the last, like, 10
with
years.
all the internet hate machine that is for the prequels, especially for Jar Jar, how was it having not watched it so long when you finally when Qui-Gon finally bumps into Jar Jar and there he is?
Well, as I said, I think I mentioned to you guys the other day, literally, as he got up and started talking and stuff, for some reason, I subconsciously just felt the urge to say moi moi. And I said it at the exact same time as he did in the movie, and I'm like, that's the problem. That's the problem. Like, I still was not a fan. I was still not a fan of that character, but he wasn't quite as trash as I remembered. I do, and I think that is the zeitgeist of the internet, is that there are certain subjects that are mass hated, like Jar Jar Binks, and then when you do go and sit down and rewatch it and actually look at it again, You understand that it is blown quite out of proportion. Yeah, bloody Jar Jar.
How about you, Ash?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not the worst thing ever, but yeah, it's just not. Yeah, it's just awkward and not good.
Do you think it was ever possible for this character to like? Could you fix some of his lines and stuff like that and make him like acceptable? Like oh yeah, he's here for the kids, but like he's not quite as annoying.
I think if he was a bumbling buffoon, but without that accent or like speak somewhat normally, I think it wouldn't be as offensive as some people find it.
If he didn't have the catchphrases, and I think if you kind of you did, there's being dumb and then there's being Jar Jar. There's like two levels of just absolute just. You're just like what?
Yeah, there's like I don't mind his whole speech and like whatever and stuff like that because that's how the whole Gungans speak. Like when you go visit his his city. They all speak ridiculous. You got the big boss like doing that whole shit. It's like all of this is fucking ridiculous. It's just kind of like it goes too far when he's like, of course he drops the thing, like he numbs himself in the speedo and
like 3 seconds after he's told not to.
Yeah, if he's told not to do it, and he like treads in poo and like tries to flick it off, and he like goes to eat the food randomly on the street and then has to get into the fight. Like it's like stuff like that where it's like just get rid of those. Like,
but did he do it all on purpose?
Oh my god! Don't go into that theory. I don't want to listen to that. That's like
one of my most hated, fucking stupid internet theories ever.
I understand.
Well, if he didn't pick up the food, they wouldn't have run into Anakin again.
Like this, I can tell that the street meat thing was like a way to involve Anakin and the rival. I cannot remember his name, freaking off the top of my head.
Whatever. Yeah, I can't remember. Symbol.
Yeah, something like that. Sebulba. Thank you, Sebulba. But it could have been done in a better way because it's like, what? Do you not have any concept of like purchasing food in like where you come from? Is that not a thing?
Yeah,
like
because you go to Gungan City, and people are walking around like it's an actual city.
Yeah, it's
and
civilized.
And this dude comes up and he's like, yeah, it looks civilized. There's people grinding guards and stuff like that. He just comes up to a different city. He's like, well, it's not my city. So like, I just bite that. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
Any sense at all.
I think if it didn't have those bits, Jar Jar wouldn't be quite as terrible.
Yeah. Do you think, all right, so everyone's most hated thing for all the prequels, but especially episode 1, because episode 1 does have the most Jar Jar, and like it's toned down from the rest of the movies because everyone hated on him so much that George kind of just cut a bunch of stuff with him in episode 2, and episode 3 is basically non-existent. Is there anything else that like stands out, like a particularly bad thing, like especially if it's something you think's worse than Jar Jar for the prequels?
There was a lot of CGI that I cannot remember seeing. Like I think.
Oh my god.
As a.
Wait, pause for a second. Did you watch this on your 4K TV?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Note on this, I would literally point this out. I spoke to my dad today, and I was like, "So I rewatched Phantom Menace today." He's like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "I remember I watched it 2 years ago on like a normal HD TV, and it was like it was the Phantom Menace. It was what it was." I was like, "But I rewatched it on my 4K TV, and I swear the upscaling made the special effects look way, way, way worse than I ever remember."
Yep. And I think watching it as a mature viewer that's actually watching it more, not entirely for pleasure, like it was fun to watch, but, you know, to be a bit more analytical. There was a lot more in that than I remembered. Like, there was a lot I cringed about in, like, the pod racing scene, the whole, like, random flicks to Jabba the Hutt playing with those goddamn little creatures. Like, there was so much, and I'm like, Is this been like this the entire time? Because I always remember it stands out for me in like the recut of episode 6 where they add a bunch of CGI in it for no reason. In like
George loves CGI.
You love CGI, but I could not remember it being this bad in this movie. Than it was.
It was always this bad.
Ugh.
In fact, they actually fixed some stuff with CGI.
Oh, really?
They fixed fucking Yoda.
I think the worst is the when they bring out the droids and those carrier things. Like even the grass looks fake.
Yes.
Yeah. That whole field, it's like that whole battle scene there towards the end or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like, what? I've played video games 5 years ago that look better than this. Like, I swear, it's just that everything stands out, especially from the background, like especially like the droids and stuff like that, and Jar Jar especially. Like the first time Qui-Gon bumps into him, and he's just like standing there talking to him, I'm like, I was so out of immersion, like watching it. I'm like, this does not look real at all. Like it's not even close, and it's not like I'm like spoiled. I'm not like, oh, I've watched Avatar, like all these movies these days that use like motion capture suits and stuff like that. Like Snoke's a motion capture character and stuff like that, and the new ones and stuff like that. But it's just like it doesn't at all even look like it was attempted. It just stands out so ridiculously. It is really bad. But this was 1999. CGI was basically just discovered, and George was like
going nuts.
A kid who had just discovered a new toy or something, and he was just going completely crazy. And it is one of the sadder things about the movies, I think, because especially when you know how the originals were made with so many models and like all this sort of stuff, like cool stuff, and that's the reason they stand out, look so great. And movies like Jurassic Park, which were one of the first movies to use special effects back in the day, like basically Jurassic Park was made because I was like, we can't do this movie. Like, there's no way to make this possible because Spielberg was like, oh, we had enough trouble trying to make Jaws work. Like, we couldn't make Jaws work. Like, we're not going to be able to shoot dinosaurs. And eventually one day someone comes to him, he's like, well, we got this company, ILM, take a look at this. Shows him, like, proper dinosaurs. He's like, okay, the game's changed. But Jurassic Park still looks great to this day because they used a combination of the special effects plus, like, models.
Yeah.
And Robotech stuff and all that sort of stuff. And they just combined it. So the movie still looks great to this day, I think. But Phantom Menace was just so much just CGI of like nothing backing it up. It's like the backgrounds are fake. The half the characters in your scene are fake. It's one actor standing in a green room talking to a fake creature with fake stuff happening around him, and everything around him's fake. And it just looks really bad. Like it doesn't, there's no way around it. It looks bad.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, and you can really pick the scenes that aren't too. I remember when they escape Gungan City and they first like pop out of the water in the river there in the boat, and as soon as they get out, I'm like, oh, that's real. Like that was shot on a real canal. Like that's a real shot,
real thing.
Getting out there, and you can tell so fast like what the difference is and stuff like that.
It would have been too expensive to do the water effect.
Oh yeah,
Water CGI. Yeah.
Too much work.
Yeah.
What are some of your? Let's go into positives then. What are some things that you watched watching this movie that you did enjoy, having not watched it for 10 years?
I enjoyed the pod racing. I didn't mind that scene. It was fun. I mean, it's crazy that he somehow miraculously won with all those problems, but but yeah, I enjoyed the pod racing scene, and of course the Jedi Sith battle at the end was awesome. And
Yep.
Yeah. That's all good.
You got two scenes.
I enjoy seeing the Emperor's Rise. I think that's probably the best thing to come out of the original, the prequel trilogy. Like,
Question:
seeing his
looking back at it now, is it supposed to be obvious that Palpatine
that he's the Emperor?
That is the Emperor. Is it supposed to be obvious?
Star Wars fans knew because it's like Emperor Palpatine. This guy's name's Sheev Palpatine.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but if you were watching the episode 1 first before anything else, you probably
I suppose if this was your first movie, then no, it does play out like that guy's a good guy, I suppose.
Yeah.
Even though he's the good guy who's like literally whispering in Queen Amidala's shoulder at some stage, like, they're evil, like, why don't we vote them out? They'll vote in someone better. Oh, and then like leans back. Like, that's the devil on your shoulder, lady.
Yeah.
How about you, Ciaran?
For me, what I really loved, and I actually sat down and watching it the first thing, and I got really jealous, kind of, and it was weird. Got really jealous of the people that got to appreciate episodes 4, 5, 6, or fully understand those movies prior to watching this, because how cool would it have been to, like, when you're sitting in the cinema and it clicked instantly for you when you're watching the movie of, wait, That's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like I know that character. Like that's awesome to see him as a kid, like, as a younger.
Yeah, well, that's why they do that. They do that really cool shot. Like they have them come in, hoods up, and then the camera's from behind them, and they take down their hoods, turn around, and then Qui-Gon says like something blah blah blah, Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan starts speaking, and it's like this close up spin shot. It's like
yeah, like imagine like that. I got really jealous of that because there was a thought I had in my head that I've never had before. Like, wow, that would be awesome to live that moment. But for me, it's Qui-Gon Jinn is such a fascinating character, not just from watching this movie, but because I now understand that character a lot more. I've read bits and pieces about him that kind of explains why he acts out so much against the Council and why he's
the hippie Jedi.
Yeah, it's kind of... And so, for me, my favourite part of that movie is the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, because I think Qui-Gon's teachings and that character itself gives a lot of understanding to how Obi-Wan operates for the rest of the franchise. So I really enjoy that, and that last fight scene it's intense.
It is.
With like
I think that the thing about Qui-Gon, everyone likes especially with the Last Jedi coming, everyone likes to say like stuff about Grey Jedi and like the in between the dark, like Jedi, Sith, and blah blah blah. Everyone starts talking about Grey Jedi, which they haven't had in like canon universe, but it was from the old legacy stuff and stuff like that. But I mean, Qui-Gon really is as close as a character as you can have in the Jedi Council to being a Grey Jedi, because he fucks around with the Jedi Council so much. Like he's nowhere close to the dark side, but he's definitely not fully committed to Jedi. And I laughed out loud. Like my favorite line rewatching it the other day was when they come out of the tower after just talking about Anakin and stuff like that, and Obi-Wan's basically just like, can't you just do what the Jedi Council want?
Yeah, like just once. Just once, let them have their way. Just once. Because that's the most amazing thing, is that kind of shows the respect and reputation that Qui-Gon has within that group, because it's not even like he just like plays along and says, yeah, I'll follow what you say, and then he legit just says to him, okay, I'm just gonna go trade it myself. Soz. Like, I don't care what you say, really. I'm just going to do it, so peace. And you're like, what? And that's the thing, like, when there is lines like, you know, if you did follow the rules a bit more, you'd be on that council.
Yeah.
So that character makes me a little sad that he died, and I understand that his death moves the movie on in a positive way, but that character was really interesting, and Liam Neeson's a boss. So
he comes back for a little bit of Clone Wars.
With Disney owning Star Wars, I'm sure we're going to get a Qui-Gon Jinn movie before you know it.
That would be awesome. I'd appreciate that.
They could still do it.
They will do it. It's only a matter of time.
But I will get the Obi-Wan movie before that happens. Qui-Gon's really interesting. They had so one of the latest Star Wars books they put out was From a Certain Point of View, which is a bunch of short stories set throughout A New Hope, but basically just from literally the opposite, a different character's perspective around as the movie progresses. And one of the short stories is basically when Luke leaves Obi-Wan to go back to the farm, and we follow him there. But it stays with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan speaks to Qui-Gon. Like there.
I've heard about this. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I won't like spoil it all in case like people want to read it or listeners and stuff like that. But it's an interesting little short story because it just plays out, and one of the cool parts of it is Obi-Wan is just being referred to as Padawan again, and it says like, oh, we've reverted back to old titles because like as far as I'm concerned, I've still got so much to learn from him. Yeah, like he's still the master, I'm still the Padawan, and it's just really cool thing. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is, yes, it's probably on like my top 5 list of. I'd love another like Padawan movie, but it's just like you can't do it because like Ewan McGregor's too old now. Although you could have Liam Neeson still play Qui-Gon, you couldn't have Ewan McGregor play Obi-Wan still. It just wouldn't work, annoyingly.
Yeah, I think I've seen Disney do all the Avenger movies.
I do not want to watch a full movie of that. No way.
Yeah, I don't want a full movie of that. I can take it for like 5 minutes or whatever, 10 minutes. I couldn't take a whole movie of it. Yeah, I think I don't hate Phantom Menace. It's not my least favorite prequel. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I think it's it's obviously one of the worst Star Wars movies. It's like thinking of a number off the top of my head to make it easier for people to understand. 6, 5.5, 6. Like it's got so many problems, but like the high highs are so enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
And the low lows are just really shit. But the high highs, when I'm really enjoying it, I'm really, really enjoying it. Like Jewels of the Fate, the fight scene at the end obviously is like probably it's probably my favorite fight in all of
I agree.
in all of the movies.
Yep.
Or it's probably my favorite fight in
I
all of the movies.
Just because of it's not just because of the choreography of the fight or anything, it is the music against that fight.
The music, everything, the motion, just like it's really great. And all the stuff with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship, all the stuff with just Qui-Gon. Basically, you take out the politics stuff for what we get. I do enjoy, especially rewatching it now when I have like a high interest level in it. It's basically just all the filler. There's a lot of like technical filmmaking problems, like the fact the movie's really, really rushed for like the first hour. Like they just jump from point to point to point to point. It's like they're talking to characters. We're going to get on a boat. Next second, they're just flying through. Then they're in a city. They kind of just, at some points, it just seems to move really, really fast. And then at some points, it just like goes really, really slow. And then when they need them to get to a different, like, move the plot along, it's suddenly just like, we're moving really fast, guys. We're like just going along.
In that thought, like, did they spend too much time on Tatooine? Do you
think so?
Yeah, I got that feeling when I was watching it. Was maybe they could have not had a scene or two on Tatooine that was unneeded.
The build up, the build up.
He could have just come with Qui-Gon when they all went to take the hyperdrive thing.
Yeah, he didn't.
That would have saved time.
At all. Yeah, that didn't make any sense at all. It's literally just like, that is Paul writing to set up just so he can bump into Darth Maul solely. Yeah. And of course, that's another thing pointed about this movie is Darth Maul. Like, and even though, and this is another one of these things, like I have, as we talk about for the next couple of weeks, the prequel movies, I enjoy these movies a lot more now with material that's being released after them that helps me enjoy them more. Like, watching Darth Maul in this, when you watched it back in the day, it was like, oh, he's a cool looking character, but he wasn't interesting. Like you know fuck all about him. It's like, who is this? This is like 4 lines, maybe. He has like 4 lines. It's like, who gives a fuck? But now that I've watched this and I know his entire story that happens after this, spoilers, he comes back to life. It just makes him more interesting. And I know how he got to where he was, like how he ended up as the apprentice, like what planet he grew up on, his lifestyle.
Is that all canon?
It's all canon, yeah. And it's like, it's just like these little details. And this is one of my things about the prequels. And it's like, I think that's like a description of Star Wars in general, though. It's like a lot of the stuff in Star Wars, it's like the more you put in, the more you'll get out for a lot of it. And that's how it's always been, I think, even in the originals, like if you count legacy novels and stuff like that.
I'm going to have a gushing moment for a second. But in that like couple minute period just then, you made me so excited that we're doing this series, but B, you made me like super, like, I don't know. It's really good to have somebody that is so interested in so involved in this scene, because now I'm like, crap, now I want to... What Dylan, what books are these Darth Maul stories in? Like, Dylan, I know I have to go watch like Rebels or something to see Darth Maul, but like, Dylan, what? It's just... I'm excited. Let's do this.
If people listening to this get more hype for Star Wars by listening to my my hypeness for it, then that's a good thing, I think.
I've got a couple of stray observations. Could I just throw these out?
I was about to say, before we wrap up, any notes she's had on the Phantom Menace or stuff?
First, I was very surprised by the height difference between Natalie Portman and Liam Neeson when they're walking together on Tatooine. That was odd. I was surprised.
That's a random note. Yep.
Yeah. So I looked it up. Liam Neeson's 1.9 meters tall.
Yeah.
Natalie Portman, 1.6 meters. I don't know what that is in feet. I'm sorry, American listeners. Just a fun fact. Second.
Is that it? Is that okay?
Second, immaculate conception. That's just dumb.
It is.
Can we agree?
Yep. I agree.
And I was thinking, what if his mother was lying and that there is a father, and maybe that's linked to What's going on now?
Nah, man, the midichlorians did it.
The midichlorians did it?
They did it. They did it, apparently. That's what the line in the movie says, and it's like...
Maybe she didn't know better. Maybe she got drunk one night and
No, that's
Harvey
what
Weinstein
Neeson,
came around.
that's what Qui-Gon says, I think. That's his explanation for how it happened.
Okay, my last point. Apparently Queen Amidala was elected to be in that position.
Yes.
Why was she elected?
Yes.
Like, she looks like 16. Why are these people on this planet electing her to be queen? Is there any reason given? Any backstory given? No?
Not that I know of, no.
No? They just...
Maybe she was the only one that put a hand up.
It was like a prom queen thing.
Yeah,
Just hand out a
maybe.
block of cookies.
Yeah. Whatever works.
Yeah, I guess. That's all I got.
Okay. Kieran, do you have
my
any
quick
last
and
thoughts?
probably less, less do. I do this every time I watch this movie and go, wait, that's fucking Keira Knightley in this movie. And I think I forget every time I go to watch it. Every time I go to watch it, I'm like, I know that face. I know that. Wait. I get it now. Like, right, okay.
It is actually a cool twist.
Yeah,
thing
it
when
was an
she
interesting
reveals
thing.
it.
That,
Yeah.
Oh shit, Padme's really the queen, and that's.
Yeah.
I think now that I listen to the dialogue more, it's funny the little things that like the little interactions of her and Qui-Gon and Tatooine are
Yeah,
hilarious.
Qui-Gon's like, the queen trusts me, why can't you? And she's like, maybe she doesn't. Like,
it's like, yeah, maybe she doesn't, man. Like maybe she doesn't.
yeah, why are you being so presumptuous over there, Qui-Gon?
Yeah.
Trust in the Force.
Yeah. Also, Jake Lloyd is not good.
No, he's
No,
not.
he's not.
He's really
not.
No.
How in the
Are you an angel?
yeah? Oh my
Oh,
god.
God.
B that relationship. That relationship
Yes.
between those two, that is the worst
so
part of this. It's like
unbelievable.
one of the worst parts of knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just,
It is ridiculous.
it's like, what? Who is this woman that, she knew the, okay, whatever. But in the scenes where he flies up to space and single-handedly destroys that goddamn Trade Federation ship.
Yeah. On autopilot.
It frustrates the crap out of me. Because, let's give him some credit. I bet R2D2 did 95% of the work in that flight. Guaranteed. Yep. Don't even need him. But B, how, he was, parked on that ship for 5 minutes. How is he not killed? There was a good, long pause of him just being like, yeah, I'm in the middle of all these droids. They're not doing
Also, how much of a dick is the handmaiden who makes the queen wash R2 after he saves the ship?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm in control. Wash that droid.
Take any shot you can get,
And also, Anakin Skywalker, learn the difference between pod racing and flying in a spaceship. That was not pod racing.
No, I believe he said, now this is pod racing.
It's not. It's flying a ship.
I said it out loud while watching it alone. I was like, no, it's not. Stop.
Okay. Phantom Menace. Since I gave it my rough rating to help everyone else understand, go for it. Shoot some numbers at me.
5.
I'm going to be nice and give
flat
it
5.
6.
No, it's pretty good. 5. I said 5.56 and a 6, so that's bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. Tweet at us when we give our Twitters at the end of the show, or just tweet at Explosion Pod and be like, yo, dumb, you don't know Star Wars. That movie's a 1 out of 10. If you reckon The Phantom Menace is a 1 out of 10, you haven't actually watched a bad movie. Like a proper bad movie.
You watched The Room? No, you have not.
Yeah. That's a proper bad movie.
Oh, hi,
like,
Mark.
So bad it's funny. So bad it's funny, but it's bad.
It's bad.
We're not starting a room talk. Let's not.
I saw raw, untamed power.
Let's jump into a Last Jedi breakdown of the trailer here. So, if you want to play along at home, we're all going to have the trailer up. I will give you the time code. I'm watching the official Last Jedi trailer that's on the Star Wars YouTube channel. So if you want to look at the exact picture that we're looking at while we're talking about it. I will just tell you the exact second mark where I stop. And we're probably going to stop at 0.01 straight away. So you can just fucking jump to that second. All right. So, and before you go, Dylan, how much really could you have to talk about in each shot?
He has so much to talk about.
So much, like, strap yourselves in.
Strap in.
Dylan told me that we might only go half an hour on this podcast, and I knew he was
Also,
lying, so...
What are the odds that Anakin finds a helmet that fits him straight away? That's weird.
Oh my god. Okay, so 0.1. We got Kylo Ren looking over a hangar. It's presumably, I'm going to presume this scene takes place right before the First Order goes to Crate, which is the big planet that we've seen the most of, where the ships land on it and like red stuff is shooting up behind them. That's the new planet that we're going to get in this one, and that's where they're fighting walkers that you see in the teaser trailer. Why am I presuming this? Because you can see walkers in the background of this shot. If you go ahead a little bit, you'll see some more of these things. I'll talk about the voiceover in a second, because they cut between the whole things here. Now, I said this when me and Ash did our reacts. Do these walkers not look more like Voltron Transformers?
Hell yeah, they do.
Like, they're way more heavily armored.
They got like gorilla feet.
Eyes
they got like gorilla feet.
Yeah, they're not like
arms.
Yeah, they're like moving a little bit better and stuff like that. They got upgrades, son.
Do you reckon like the drivers have morphers and say it's morphin time? Because Power Rangers is way better than Voltron.
Oh, don't go offending out.
I'm not touching that one. Although
I've never seen
Voltron, so
haven't you?
I'm on the Power Ranger side.
Yeah, boy,
it's all right.
That's good.
I've also the ship up in the back, just above the walkers here. Presume that's Kylo's ship. Like,
that looks like it.
It looks like the same one we see in Force Awakens and stuff. Go ahead.
And beyond that.
0.11. Got Kylo walking in with some... So we got stormtroopers. Now, this could be two places. Break it down for you.
Break it down.
Not gonna presume this is at the exact same planet we just saw in the shot before, because this is a fucking trailer. They like to fuck with me. They like to pull tricks with me. This could either be on Crate, where we just was with the walkers, or we could assume this might be on Achto. I'm not actually sure if that's how you say the planet. That is the planet that Luke's on, which is like Achto or something like that. So this could be on that planet, or it could be on Crate. Unsure.
Are we reckoning the red stuff is like something in the rock, or is it like...
So Crate is a planet that has like all this red surface, basically. Sulfur, I think is what it is. And it's like covered in salt or something like that. So that's why in the trailer, when you see the ships land on it and it sends the salt stuff flying up, and then you see the red underneath, because that's actually what the planet looks like. You ask questions thinking I don't have answers.
I love the answer.
You agreed to this podcast, you got to strap in. We're not here for... I got answers to most stuff. I wish I had more answers to more stuff.
Thank God this trailer is only 2 minutes.
I was going to say, 11 seconds in, we've stopped 3 times.
I'm going to stop for every shot. Every shot.
Wow, you
just missed like 3 shots then.
Well, I just stopped at the lightsaber. We're at 0.16. So you got Kylo Ren bending down on one knee, presumably talking to Snoke.
So he can bend down now.
He's like royal guards in the background, and we see this room at the end of the trailer. So if you wrap that all up, he's probably talking to Snoke. Also,
is that the same lightsaber from the...
I think that's a new one.
It's a new lightsaber. He has a new lightsaber. Apparently, it's more... it's built properly. Like, he got taught how to make a lightsaber that doesn't like burst out like it's going to go flying off sideways and needs manual fixing every second. So it's still a crossguard lightsaber, but like
it lights up properly.
It lights up properly. It doesn't like light up like a car. You got to start like zing. I think it's one big crossguard lightsaber, not like watch out for that, guys. Like, because his they explained it. The reason that happened was because his crystal was broken. Actually,
okay, that's
like in his lightsaber.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Don't crack your kyber crystals, guys. That's what leads to...
Change your crystals, people.
You guard your crystals. Make sure they're all fine. we got a whole bunch of shots of like Rey fighting here, which is this is basically all from the teaser. Well, most of this is what we'd seen anyway. I don't know how many times we've have to watch her hand this fucking lightsaber to Luke though. Although this feels like it's reshot.
Yeah, it looks
Every
reshot.
time I watch this,
He looks like...
I want to go back.
Go for it.
It does look different, doesn't it? Like it doesn't look like the one from Force
No, it
Awakens.
looks very-
I have to
it
go
looks
back.
like
He
he's in a
didn't hold the
different position.
lightsaber in. He didn't actually grab the lightsaber at the end of Force Awakens, did he?
No, he holds out his hand, but I mean, just like Luke's face, like Mark Hamill's face, his hair looks different or like longer or something like that. Like something about it looks something. Did you say good?
I said looks like it. Yeah. Or looks.
Okay, I thought he was like good. I want his hair to be longer.
It just looks older.
Yeah, so he looks. If you look at his face, he looks angry, confused, something like that, which makes a heap of sense as we get further into the trailer and becomes quite obvious. He's not quite happy to see Rey. This shot here is. Right, so what's in the background? It looks like a tree or a tree stump or something like that to me. Which forever and a day, I will call every tree I see on Luke's island. I'm going to try and connect it back to a comic they put out right before The Force Awakens come out called Shattered Empire, in which Luke, straight after episode 6 finishes, like basically goes off and like breaks into one of Palpatine's like big lock guard places, and he steals this Force sensitive tree. And this is one of the comics they put out right before Force Awakens. So a lot of people
So it means
were
something.
obviously. Yeah, so everyone was like, why the fuck is this comic about him having a tree? And then you watch Force Awakens, you're like, you never find out anything about this tree. Luke takes off with one tree. The other tree he gave to Poe Dameron's mum, who planted it in their backyard. So before The Force Awakens came out, I was yelling that Poe's Force sensitive. Because like the tree's gonna make him have Force powers because his mummy has him while he's on a Force.
He
tree.
just lived next to like Force Chernobyl. Like he had to get.
That's terrible.
What?
That's
What?
terrible. I don't know how you yeah, shout out to that book though. It's actually pretty good. And you can probably find it really cheap now, the Shattered Empire one, if anyone wants to read it. It's like, since there's fuck all Luke material between episode 6 and 8 or 7, however we want to put it. We get some in Battlefront 2 when that comes out in a couple of weeks. This shot at, I paused it wrong a second, but we can go back to the second. 041. This is what I'm gonna forever call is the shot where I wanted to name this podcast Scholars of the Wills. I think these books are the books of wills, which in the Star Wars universe is
Whose will?
They're WHILLS. Not wills.
Why did somebody spell will with a H in it? Like, did they hate their kid or something?
No, they're like journals. They're not actually proper wills. Ciaran.
Maybe it's Darth Vader's will, right?
No, not quite
No?
that. What?
The
So
Emperor's will.
basically, what the books could have in them is, the books could. So the books, the will books used to be stuff that wasn't canon and wasn't anything like that. No one really talked about it. It was like an idea George Lucas had originally when he was coming out with Star Wars, which was that the whole of Star Wars is being told, obviously as it is now, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But it said all that because we were being told a tale from like a book that happened ages ago. And the book that we were being told this tale from was like the Book of the Wills, which was, so throughout the galaxy for thousands of years, these people were writing out the story of Star Wars. Like these mythical, godlike creatures were just like ever
Like the
watching
Watcher.
on the universe. Yeah, so like the Watcher from like Marvel, I suppose, and stuff like that. It's like these people just like watching, taking notes, and that's what the books are. So if the movie's called The Last Jedi, and everyone likes theorizing about Grey Jedi and stuff like this, and in the teaser you hear Luke say like the Jedi have to end or something like that, the easy go-to theory would be that in the books he discovers something that leads him to want to disband the Jedi and like discover that they're not good. Like the Jedi aren't good, the Sith aren't good, like we just need to like destroy it all. And these books, I mean, the books must be important because they've been used in the teaser shot and the proper trailer. Like it's this one shot of these books being shown in a light to most people would be like, I don't know what the fuck they are. Like, why is that the thing? And until recently, no one even talked about them. Like they've referenced the wills twice in two of all the Star Wars books they've put out there now canon, and the most prominent reference to the wills is Baz and Inuit from Rogue One. Like, they were guardians of the Wills.
Yeah.
That's what their job was. They were guardians of the Wills. And that was like the first big, like, in a movie, like, reference to the Wills. So they've obviously been building up this reference to these books in the books and Star Wars movies. So it would make sense if they were actually that. That's going to be my guess until proving.
Well, wouldn't they have been destroyed in Rogue One?
No, because they don't actually have them. It's just like it's
So they weren't in that temple or whatever they were.
No. It's just like it's kind of like a. So that'd be part of like a religion, more or less. That's like to governing it, kind of like
It's like a Bible.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's basically like a Bible, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we don't really know that much about them.
So
It's
is this
all
shot
kind of-
happening on the inside of the tree? Is that?
It looks like it's inside the tree, yeah,
cool.
to me. That's what I'd guess too, the way the structure and stuff like that is.
Man.
More ray training. I love Luke's face here. 049, Luke looks all pissed off. Ray's eyes closed.
I don't
suppose
think he looks pissed off. I think he looks very surprised.
No, I think it's
Well,
it's one of those
surprised.
moments where it's like, fuck you.
He's like
You
shocked.
fucking broke my favorite fucking rock. You fuck.
Man, all those times I was standing on that rock.
I wanted
taken
to
in
break
the
the
wind.
rock.
So he agrees to try, like, test her strength or something like that to a degree. Like, I don't think he's agreed to train her. I think, like, she gets him to the stage of like, here, can you just like see or something like that. And this happens, and then we've seen the couple shots after this. He says, I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then, but it does now. And it has like the shot of him basically looking away, and then shot after that is of Rey, like looking really sad at him. Like Luke's basically like, nope, not doing this shit again. Nope, fuck that. And we're all gonna. The easy presumption, of course, would be that it was Kylo, like it was Ben. That was the one who had this raw strength before, and he wasn't scared of it, and he should be now, because little old Benny boy fucked up his school, which we see here in a second.
Once before, it didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
We got Kylo here. This is interesting because of all the... I also like in this trailer how much we see of him without his helmet, because, like, of course, in the first movie, they built him up so much around the helmet, and they had so much, like, merchandise of the fucking helmet and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're like, fuck the helmet.
Yeah, I thought they were going to get rid of the helmet. Was for some reason I thought that was the. I don't know.
Well, I
get
mean,
the
he
feel-
smashes
well, maybe
it
they
here.
do. He smashes it through the wall in a
Yeah.
second.
108. He just smashes it into a
okay.
fucking wall. He's like, no, fuck that helmet. It's out of here. Yeah, I don't know. He's having issues still. My guess is just going to be he's still struggling with the light side, as he likes to put it. Like in the first movie, that was his whole thing. He was struggling. That whole conversation he has with Han Solo, where he's like, I need you to help me and all this sort of thing. And like as you're listening to it, you're supposed to be like, oh, he's struggling with the dark side. He needs his dad to help him bring over the light side. But it's like, no, I need you to help me get rid of the light side, because I've still got a little bit of light side in me, and I just need you to help that get me out of me so I can go to the dark side.
This still might be
That was his
me
whole thing.
being a bit of a Star Wars noob, but I like the theory that he's like a double agent of some kind.
Double
Yeah.
agent. Yeah, I don't go with that theory.
Yeah, of
but I
course you
understand
wouldn't. I knew you wouldn't. That's fine.
We get a bunch of shots here in a second of him flying around in his upgraded new TIE. And the voiceover says, let the past die, kill it if you have to. That's the only way you'll become what you're meant to be. And then we get a shot of General Leia looking highly concerned as Ren is shown targeting a ship. We're led to believe it's presumably her ship, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, it is a trailer, but the trailer's supposed to be evoking the notion that Ren
It's her
might have
ship.
to kill Mummy Dearest in this one. I don't think they will have him kill her, but for
Well,
several
haven't
reasons.
they already confirmed that
Yeah, I
she
thought it
was
was
meant to
confirmed
be
that she
in episode
dies.
9?
They didn't say she dies. She said this is
I
her
thought
last
she said
film.
she was meant to be in episode 9.
She was meant to be in episode 9. Episode 9 was supposed
So
to
we
be her
assume she
biggest
doesn't-
film. But they changed it. Like they did. They admitted they've gone back and changed. They did stuff to episode 8. She's never going to be in episode 9. They have to write her character off at some point in this. That does
So
not
she
mean she
could
has
die.
to die. She could die. 100% she could die.
Or
Will
she
they
could just
have-
retire to the farm.
I mean, even if she does die, they don't have to have Ren kill her because it's very similar. It's like, okay, so you had him kill Han in the first one, now you have him kill Leia in the second one. It's like everyone's just gonna hate this character so much to the point where it's like Joffrey on Game of Thrones or something.
I think that's a good thing though. Like when I saw it, I honestly said out loud, thank God they're gonna put an end to her story, more because I was like, I don't want some crappy CGI version in episode 9, but even what?
Yeah, they're not doing that.
Yeah, no, and they're not doing that, and that's good, thank God. But like even like the escalation process of I've killed my dad. That still wasn't enough for me to, fully commit to this dark side. So he has to kill. Who you could tell even throughout it that he was distant enough from his dad that it probably wasn't as an important thing for him to kill him. Whereas, killing his mum would be more of a harder decision to make.
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to.
Because when he's like when he's holding the trigger, it's not like he presses it automatically. It's like slowly,
Swallows and
yeah, and all sorts of stuff like
gulps.
that.
Why does he have to do all those barrel rolls?
It's how you dodge
You're
bullets,
dodging bullets,
and
man.
also they tell you over the VO, do a barrel roll.
Oh God, it's a frog. It's a little frog somewhere. I will say I do like. It's interesting that that ship design is much closer to the ship design from the prequel series rather than the ship design. Like it's a weird hybrid of the two. It's not quite the same as what they had in the early movie.
It's his special tie. They're not all going to look like that. They've said
like
that's
it.
like his
That's
own
cool.
upgraded one or whatever, stuff like that. I'm glad that we actually get to see him do some
Space battles,
flying and stuff like that, because we didn't see him do any of that stuff in the first one. 129, you got the Falcon flying through crystal caves of some sort. Could be on Crate, could be somewhere else. I'm not sure. It's interesting though, because the question automatically is who's flying the Falcon. In a second, we do see a shot of Chewie in the Falcon, but it's like who is going to be his co-pilot?
Who's the pilot?
Are they going to make Rey his co-pilot for the whole thing? I don't think so. So it's like who becomes the co-pilot?
Can I say how does Star Wars? Is there a way Star Wars can get away from the trope of the Millennium Falcon flying through a really small cave or cavern or something? Like it seems to happen in every movie it's in.
No, because it just looks.
It
cool.
looks awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really cool, but it happens in every movie.
It does happen in every movie. Yeah.
Do you reckon you need a different license to fly a ship that size, compared to a fighter jet?
A YT Corellian freighter? No, I don't. I think you need a freighter license, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess.
Do you think the skills translate?
Now the best the best part of the movie, the best part of the trailer is at 139 where Chewie gives a roar, looks at a little porg like, the fuck are you doing here, mate? Look at that face. He's just like, what are you doing here? And then the porg's face is rearing up, and he does the best fucking impression of Chewie ever. It's so good. It's the best thing ever, because he just wants to be Chewie. He wants to be Chewie. I love him so much. There's a rumor online that this porg basically sneaks aboard the Falcon, when they leave Ahch-To, after they leave Luke's island, that this one little porg, apparently Chewie hates them all, when they're on the island, Caesar's fuck off, get out of here, and then they go onto the Falcon, and there's one little one creeps aboard and sticks around because he just wants to mimic Chewie all the time, and then it's this whole thing of Chewie's fuck you, but then they become best friends, and that's enough of a story to make me want to cry right now.
You better hope that rumor's true.
I fucking hope it is. If not, that's fan fiction and it's glorious. Either way. Whatever, I love it.
We are the spark.
So we got some Poe here. That's his upgraded. Poe also has an upgraded X-Wing in this one.
Are we going to see...
Because he's the best pilot in the galaxy.
Are we going to see Poe, Kylo Ren dogfight?
Nah, fuck that. I don't want to see that. I hope Poe's away from everyone else and Poe's doing his own, rebellion missions separate kind of thing.
Is Poe's custom, is that blue?
Is his custom blue?
His custom ship, is it blue? Because Kylo's custom ship was red, so
No, I don't believe it is.
the aesthetic, man. Red makes you go faster, but blue looks cooler. So
Yeah. Post VO is we are the spark that will burn the First Order down. It's like pretty typical, like we're the fucking good guys. We don't. It's interesting we don't see much of Poe in this trailer, but I mean he was a character that was supposed to die and they brought back. So now this shit I love right here. 140 or 141 if you want to see the full action here. So you got a bunch of like chicken walkers and shit like that in the background. All sorts of things. You got up in the top right hand corner. You got walkers. This is like a huge.
Well, it looks like the factory from the start of the trailer.
Yeah, it's one of the huge First Order ships, I'd presume, like one of their big ones. So somehow Finn manages to, because he's wearing a First Order uniform, so he like gets a uniform somehow, and his mission in this movie must be infiltrate the First Order. Because like the only couple of people who would know he's turned bad would be like his friends from the first one, which he fights, like Traitor. He's gone. Captain Phasma would recognize him, but I mean the majority of the First Order, if he just sneaks in, he knows all the codes, he knows all the stuff. Like it's like pretty good idea to be like, hey,
you'll be fine.
Why don't you sneak back in? Yeah, it's like just put your mask on, you'll do good. But we'll get to see some Finn stuff do here. I don't know how long they're going to keep him around in the whole like coma, whatever, my back hurts thing like that. Hopefully not too long. And they also have to introduce. You don't see her in this trailer, but Rose, the new character who is apparently going to be working with Finn throughout most of the movie, she's going to be teaming up with Finn. That's their buddy go mission, must be to infiltrate the First Order of some sort. This is also great because we get to see Phasma doing something, which is exciting in itself because, of course...
Doing something that isn't getting tied up and forced
Yeah,
to.
she was one of the most... Similar to one Boba Fett, it was just like a character who looked cool but did like sweet fuck all really in the first movie. I mean, she did nothing. She marched around, she looked cool, and then she got tied up and chucked into a trash compactor. And it was like, okay, Gwendolyn Christie deserves better than that. And I'm really glad that straight
Are we
away
going to see Gwendolyn Christie's face? Or is she going to be in the mask?
I'm highly doubtful. She does not take off the mask. So without spoiling too much of the Captain Phasma book from that came out like a month or so ago, she grew up wearing masks. Like that was she basically lived in like a tribal system with spears and stuff like that, which is why this makes sense that she's using a spear, because she never knew what a gun was until she met the First Order. And she also grew up just wearing masks, like tribal, growing up that kind of way. So the whole wearing a mask to hide yourself, to become a different person, to become Phasma instead of who she actually is, that's like how she was more or less brought up. Like you wear your armor, you are what your armor is. And she never took the mask off, her original mask off, really. And when she finally gets her First Order, her trooper helmet, finally in the book, she ain't taking that shit off either. Like that is her. Like as far as she's concerned, that's me. That's my helmet is who I am. My armor is who I am. Very like soldier mentality thing like that. The only way they'd have a scene that makes sense would be if like Finn wins this fight and he takes her helmet off just in spite to be like, fuck you, Phasma or something.
Does she sleep in it?
I mean, there was no scenes in the book of her sleeping. So, I mean, I can't guarantee, but it would surprise me if she did sleep in it.
Poor source material.
They were like, and then Phasma lay there sleeping silently with her helmet on still. I'm like, this book's trash. cut this chapter out. Like, it's unnecessary.
How does she eat?
I'm really looking forward to this, though.
That is a good question. How does she eat?
How does she eat?
She can take it off. She takes... All right. I'm not saying when or how. I'm trying not to spoil it in case someone wants to read it. She takes her helmet off at one scene in the book for a particular reason. Spoil
Is it to
it.
kiss somebody?
Slightly.
Does she kiss somebody?
No, it's not to kiss somebody.
Aww.
Sorry. Also, Finn's using a right baton, which is what they're trained in the First Order to use, basically to fight lightsabers.
Okay.
That's how they're like trained. We get a whole more shots. BB-8 gets zapped. You get a shot of Luke here at go back 146. Him on the ground. Could be Ahch-To, could be a different planet, could be a flashback scene to like talking to Kylo before Kylo like killed all these younglings and stuff like that. Could be then, not sure, but it's raining, so it must be dark and dreamy. I mean, I'm pretty sure it matches the shot of like young Rey when she has like the flashback thingy like that, and she sees all of the Knights of Ren around her. It like matches that scenery, I think. So that would make sense, I guess.
It's interesting that for this movie that it took like a minute and 45-ish seconds for a shot of BB-8.
Yeah, well, this trailer is really interesting for what they do show and what they don't show, especially because they know what merch sells and like what characters people love and stuff like that. But it is a very heavily focused trailer on certain characters. So yeah, Luke here says this is not going to go the way you. What's he say? I wrote it down. This is not going the way you. This is not going the way you think. Yeah. So he's possibly saying that's Ben or someone else. Don't know. This is back on Crate. Crystal Foxes or Glass Foxes, whatever they are.
Oh, you changed your mind. They're foxes now.
Yeah, well, that's how everyone's calling them. Some kind of fucking people. They're cool. They're fucking cool really though. One of my favorite things about this,
beard.
One of my favorite things about this movie so far is like all the creatures and alien designs and stuff like that. Like we've also seen alien designs from we don't see it in this trailer, but they go to a casino at some stage in the movie that's called Canto Bight, not Blight, Canto Bight, and that's where Benicio del character is apparently going to be. But they've shown like a heap of aliens and species and stuff there, and it's really exciting because we didn't new alien species and creature designs and stuff is like really cool to me. I want to know all their names and all their family history.
And pet them.
And get pop vinyls of them.
Pet them. And get pop vinyls on them. I'm up to 4 fucking pop vinyls of Pogs now. Oh, dear. Now we got this shot here. This is Leia. This is presumably like under the 149 bunker of Crate. And this is presumably her watching the walkers being dropped in, shit like that. Maybe she knows, maybe she sees Kylo's ship, she knows Kylo's coming for her, that kind of thing. Because the shot you see after her is her like turning away, like really sad kind of thing like that. This trailer is just a whole heap of shots of Leia looking sad, stressed, depressed. Like it's not a happy trailer for Leia at all. And considering this is her last movie, I'm like, oh God. Please, you're tearing at my heartstrings like terribly. Then after this, we just get like a whole bunch of training shots, first order shots, fights on Crate. That's the broadcast stuff. That's like under the planet surface, like under the salt, basically. And then at 1:59, we get our first official look at one Lord. I don't know if he's a Lord. Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke. Sorry, official title, Supreme Leader. The Supreme Leader wants to speak to you. So he's putting his hand out here in this shot we see, which makes sense in a second when we see Rey, because she's like leaning back. So I'm just guess that he's force pushing her or something like that, which would be the first time that we have evidence that he actually has powers of some sort, because they never actually confirmed ever in the First Order in the movie or afterwards. No one ever said like if there was ever like, does Snoke actually have powers? Is he actually force sensitive? Like everyone at Lucasfilm was like, maybe. Like, is he actually a Dark Lord? He's Supreme Leader. Like, he's just the Supreme Leader. Everyone get excited about that guy. But yeah, with his hand out and the way she is in the next shot, I think it's pretty good shot to say that he is actually quite powerful. Because that's with the way she's leaning back, it's like that's above like a force choke. That's like a body fucking entanglement, and she's like screaming out in pain in a second too. So
so do you think he is somebody that we know, or is he just an original character?
He's an original character. Why does he have to be someone we know?
Well, do
you think he's someone we know?
I don't think so, but that's the internet theory, isn't it? They want everything to be connected.
They want everything to be connected in a galaxy that's fucking bigger than we can even realize. It's worth pointing out for people who are like, well, how come? Surely it'd have to be because the galaxy's only so big by so big. The First Order forms beyond in the unknown regions of space. So, basically the remnants of the Empire, they fuck off into a region of space that is unmarked, like like it's not mapped out. Like no one knows really what's out there. It's hard to traverse. The hyperspace to get yourself around there, you're probably going to crash, burn, and crack up and die. So if they head out that direction, and they don't go out there with Supreme Leader Snoke, Snoke comes into it after they go out there, and that means that Snoke would make sense to be a character that's been living out in the unknown regions of space for however long, which would make sense why we've never seen him or something like that, because he's in uncharted Star Wars territory, like places that we don't know about, that aren't on maps, that the Jedi didn't know about. Jedi are fucking dumb anyway. Don't know what's going on. They didn't see Palpatine standing right next to him. Yeah, so this shot here at 2 minutes.
And that looks like his
Ray's
same
like,
kind of coloured garb that you could see Snoke wearing.
So makes sense if that's, and she's like proper screaming, and like that's not a position you'd probably put yourself in on purpose.
No.
If I'm going to be honest, I probably
Looks like
wouldn't
she's
chuck
getting
myself.
bent backwards.
Yeah, it's probably not comfy. And then so Snoke's saying fulfill your destiny. Just before saying all this, so it could be saying fulfill your destiny to her. Kylo Ren could be in the room, and Snoke could be saying fulfill your destiny, as in like fulfill your destiny and kill her, or he could be saying for her to fulfill her destiny. Like there's many ways you could take the fulfill your destiny line, I guess. Luke could be there, fulfill your destiny, kill everyone. I don't know. Like there's no anything to go over. And then you can tie it back to the opening monologue from Snoke at the start of the trailer that I didn't go over yet, because I think once you get towards the end of it, it makes a bit more sense. Because especially if Snoke's saying the opening monologue in this same scene, because where he says, when I found you, I saw raw, untamed power, and beyond that, something truly special. Now fulfill your destiny. Like it kind of links, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, and he could be saying that once again to umpteen characters. It doesn't just have to be Rey or something.
Right.
Yeah. And then the last shot we get at 2
I need
something.
someone
What's in black?
to show me my
What does
place
that mean?
in all this.
208. Rey looking at someone as she says, I need someone to show you my place in all of this. You have an automatic reaction to assume she's probably talking to Luke, but then the trailer fucks with us all as you go ahead a couple of seconds and cuts to a shot of Kylo. Now, the backgrounds don't really match straight away, although they could match.
They're
like it's
dark.
Not, they're dark. Yeah, they could work.
You can't really see her hair.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doing...
Yeah, it doesn't make me believe that they are actually, like, it could be the same shot. It might not be, but I would say that Kylo holds. Yeah, it could be a fake out. Kylo like holds out his hand in a second. You don't see Rey grab it or anything, but he does hold his hand to someone, so it does work. However, I'd feel so much like it is just baiting. And they did this so well with Rogue One as well, with like the, what will you become? And then like her in the Empire uniform, and they like tried to play up that Jyn Erso would be like turning bad or something like this. Like they try and play on the, like, will the characters turn bad and all this sort of stuff. The only other thing I can point out is like Kylo's missing the bandage in this shot, which would make me think that this scene is from probably the last third near the end of the movie. If the other stuff where he has the bandage is the first half of the movie or something like that, I suppose that would make sense if this is towards the end. And I don't know if that's like explosions in the background or like they're on fucking Mustafar or something like that. Who fucking knows? And then the last notes I had about the trailer is couple interesting tidbits. This trailer does heavily focus on Rey, Luke, Snoke, and Ren. You barely get anything from Poe, Finn. You get to see nothing of the new character Rose, even though at some stage we know that they'll be heading to Canto Bright, a casino, that's where the character DJ will be, which is played by Benicio del Toro, who has a fucking pop vinyl, and they've yet to show him once. And you don't see anything from General Hux at all either. Like, he has not shown up in any
That was
of the
what I was about to
teasers or
mention,
the
is
trailers or anything
where's
like that.
Hux, because that's interesting that he's not.
Yeah, so but everyone who was like so like, oh my god, should I watch the trailer? Like, will it spoil everything? This trailer spoils fuck all. Like, this trailer gives
raises more
away
questions.
nothing.
The biggest thing for me that, I think for me as well, even with like the Rogue One trailers, there was a lot of shots in that Rogue One trailer that wasn't in the actual movie.
That didn't make it.
So it'll be interesting to see what stuff has been put in here on purpose to fake out.
Yeah. Any tidbits thoughts on the trailer that I didn't
No,
bring
not
up
really.
or anything like that?
I think you did a very good job.
No, I think you, Dylan.
Thanks.
It makes me think
Ashley.
you watched this trailer at least twice.
I watched it.
Although you did say you were going to go back and talk about the thing at the start of the trailer, and you never got back to it.
Oh, what part did I miss?
The voiceover at the start.
Oh no,
You
I did say
did.
about
You
the
did.
voiceover.
You
Like
said
how
it
it
all
links back
connected.
to.
Okay,
Get with the times, Ash.
It's connected.
it's all connected. Okay, cool. I'm sorry.
All right, that's about it. Everyone enjoyed the Last Jedi trailer. This has been the first official episode. We talked some Phantom Menace. We talked some Last Jedi, and we'll be back next week. We'll be talking more prequels. We'll be watching Attack of the Clones and a select few episodes of the Clone Wars animated series that I'm going to make the boys here watch. So I want to talk about some things to do with Obi-Wan and some super duper Star Wars fan theories. If you want to find out what exact episodes we're going to be watching, you can head to explosionnetwork.com/Alderaan Explosion. At the bottom of the page is what we'll be watching each episode leading in. And of course, if any big Star Wars news, trailers, or anything crazy like that happens, we'll be talking about them week by week as well. Stuff like that. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter @ExplosionPod. And if you've got some big nerdy Star Wars friends or non-nerdy friends who just want to hear some nerdy shit, suggest Alderaan Explosion. We will be doing, how many episodes is it? 9. 8. Too many.
We're counting down to the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
We sure are. Where can the people follow you, Ash?
You can follow me on Twitter Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY.
What planet's that?
That is, I don't know. I can't. It's hard. You can't pronounce it in English or with the human mouth.
Kieran, where can people follow
Find
you?
me at your boy Ringo or grabbing a drink down at Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah, there you go. I'm glad. Good job.
I got you. I got you.
We'll take it. Got to get some Star Wars.
I'll be prepared next week.
And you can follow me on Twitter @Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. And you can find me at Canto Byte. Not Blight, but I basically own that fucking casino.
Hey, listen, Ciaran here. If you haven't heard, the Explosion Network will be streaming for 24 hours and participating in Extra Life on November 4th, raising money for the Sick Kids Centre for Global Child Health. Head on over to explosionnetwork.com/extralife for all the details on how you can help us, including donating, giving us some ideas for challenges, or games you'd like to see us play. October 27th to 29th, apparently Pact Melbourne's happening, and I'm going to be there with Dylan, Ash, and Jono. So feel free to come say hey if you see us on the show floor. Then, there's a disturbance in the Force. On October 27th, we'll be launching a Star Wars podcast in the lead up to Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Of course, our weekly shows will always continue. Pleasure Explosion Mondays, Platinum Explosions on Tuesdays, and Grandstand Gurus Thursdays. All at 12 p.m. Catch our live streams where I like to dwell during the evenings at twitch.tv/Explosion Network, and keep your targets locked on explosionnetwork.com for all our exclusive content. Shout out to Bevan.
I'm probably cutting that, but I'm just doing it anyway. Actually, now that I've said I'm probably cutting it, let's be real. I put that at the end of the show.